The Sucesos de Islas, Filipinas was a book written by Dr. Antonio Morga. It is a keen description of the series of events from years 1493 to 1603. It included the proper history of the Philippine Islands from 1565. As the first published book about the Philippines, it included the country's political, social, and economic systems, and the book was also visualized the image of the country in the hands of the colonizers, as well as it tackled the policies of the Spaniards regarding the trade. It opened the imagination of the reader about the things the Philippine Islands has encountered. Alongside with that is that the attractiveness of Morgan's work and his wide-ranging handling of the Philippine institution policy and products resulted in the abundant annotations. One of the most numerous abundant annotations that we notice is Rizal's annotation. Astonished and impressed by the book, Jose Rizal decided to annotate it in the pu- in Jose Rizal decided to annotate it and publish new editions. Rizal encountered the said writing was on May 24, 1888. Rizal chose to reprint Sucesos de Islas Filipinas or Events in the Philippine Islands by Dr. Morga rather than some other contemporary historical accounts of the Philippines because of the following reasons. So we have a few reasons why Rizal chose Antonio Morga's book to rewrite. One of them is Rizal was impressed with Morga's objectives by not being religious, way of writing, and Morga, compared with religious chroniclers, was more sympathetic to the Indios, and finally, Morga was not only an eyewitness but also a major actor in the events he narrated. Rizal's annotations were very straightforward historical annotations which corrected the original book and historically based. The annotations reflects his strong anti-clerical bias. So the book consists of 8 chapters. One we have here is the chapter that I have chosen is chapter 8. So we have a few important details here to take note. The book was somehow like a reformist of its own. It was first published in 1609, I think in Mexico. Yes, Mexico. And Rizal was astonished. He annotated the book and corrected a few in an illustrados viewpoint. Rizal started to write, Rizal started to rewrite, began, Rizal started to write or rewrite the book in 1890. So we have chapter 8 here. This is the last chapter of the book. So chapter 8 is about how the natives look like, their clothes, the gold jewelry, customs, and governance before the arrival of Spaniards. So long before we were colonized, there were already wealthy few that has prominent looks with their jewelry, their clothes, about how they look like, and especially the natives of how they looked before. And after the conquest and other special features. So, Morga was obviously fascinated with the social organization of the natives. He described the origins, differences of privilege of social classes, upward and downward mobility, inheritance of possessions and titles. Rizal emphasized that native women, unlike the European counterparts, never lost their noble titles. We also have here in marriage, it was the groom who gave the bride's parents a dowry because they were losing a precious daughter. Back then, marriage is very sacred. Whenever two couples would marry, the groom would be the number one figure to pay respects to the bride's parents because we know that back then women, even up till today, women are still viewed as a diamond, but back then it was really a precious. Women were treated like a precious that they would bribe the parent with, you know, luxurious things. They would also give like carabaos, house and lots, or businesses. As much as we see in this one in the movies nowadays, it is actually these events were actually true. This was one of the ways of how grooms would steal, the trust, the integrity, the love of the parents, so that the groom would then end up marrying their precious bride. So it would have been such a lovely day to get married back then than before, than now. So yeah, let's move along. So Morga was critical of the system government, which he said barely existed because there were no powerful figure that ruled myriad communities, or meaning numerous communities. Most of them is in coastal, each with its own set of leaders. So according with this article that I have seen online, Rizal argued that it was better that way, and why should the communities be holden to one ruler who didn't even live among them and was not familiar with their needs and problems? How could he have solved disputes, meet justice, implement policies and regulations if he didn't even live in the community? So with this one, Rizal argued that it is better this way to have no powerful figure but have its own sets of leaders, because Rizal then argued that it's hard to have a political figure or powerful figure in the community who doesn't even live and grown in the community, because it would be hard for the leader to solve problems, have sets of laws and rules and regulations when he didn't even grow up in that community. He is not even a native of that community, so it would be hard to put his shoes on the natives. So that's what Rizal argued. So, so one of the articles that I can also see here in the chapter 8 is that one of the most laborious footnotes was about the literacy of pre-colonial Filipinos. Morga said that the natives of all islands had their own form of writing with characters that looked like Greek or Arabic. But sadly enough, Rizal said that that was no longer true. Now this article I can actually not argue anymore, because from what I can see here, the article was not sufficient enough to explain this detail. But for now, we all know that we have our own um, alphabet, or our own dialect, or our own words or characters, which is the baybayin. So with this one, so this is what we have seen in chapter 8. This is only a summary. Well, in fact, it was also written in this article actually from pressreader.com that Rizal's annotation was actually longer than Morga's writing on the book. So basically, Rizal had a lot more to say rather than Antonio Morga's chapter 8 writings. So basically, that consists our chapter 8 summary. So this is chapter 8 of the Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. Thank you.